Bar Queen! Hi, hello everyone, my name is Jer, and this is a place for talented people, not for people who know how to buy shoes.
Your tone seems very pointed right now.
In this video, we are talking about All Stars 11 Episode 2 Bar Queen Couture. If you missed Episode 1, that is on a prior video. There should be a playlist on my channel, or it should be in the very recently posted. Drink number 2 because Papa's tired. I am so happy to see Orange Bracket again today, that we got a double premiere, but I'm so sad that this bracket is going to be over faster than it started. And it will quite literally be 7 weeks before we'll see these queens again. After such a strong premiere episode, I was expecting some buffoonery this week. I was. And I'm very happy to report that my experience with episode 2 was just as strong as my experience with episode 1. With only 2 queens progressing to the second round, the room is shook and quivering. I think they're feeling the competition pressure harder than they realized they were going to. Unless your name is Mystique Summers, in which case you're just here to vibe and have a good time. And I love that. Episode 2 begins with the MBQ point distribution, where there is some drama, understandable drama. In episode 1, Lucky approached Morphine and wanted to form an Azúcar alliance, while also saying in confessionals that Morphine was never really nice to her back in her club days, and how she was kind of keeping her at an arm's length distance, laying groundwork that she was more interested in seeing if Morphine was still that girl or if she's changed. All-Star seasons are fascinating to me because we peel back more layers to each one of these girls' personalities and characters outside of the show. Morphine's first time around, she seemed pretty standard shady like any drag queen would be, but overall, she generally seemed like a nice, pleasant human being. But that is not Lucky's experience with her. In Lucky's eyes, Morphine was standoffish, a little dismissive, and wasn't the kindest to her. And that reveals another layer to Morphine's front-facing persona. It's a very similar line to what we experience with someone like Mo Hart in UK vs. the World Season 1. In her original times on the show, she seemed lovely, a bright gem who was constantly being underestimated by people around her and was the kind of underdog in the drag scene. But Blue Hydrangea's experience with her was that Mo was standoffish and rude and kind of mean. And so we see these different snapshots through the eyes of somebody else who has met them. It doesn't change my opinion of Morphine in any way, but it's just interesting to see how what our experience is as an audience is sometimes vastly different than what the boots on the ground are feeling. Or the heels on the ground, I guess is the right term. With the MBQ point distribution, it is revealed that Mystique sees a bit of herself in Lucky. That season 2 energy of someone who's doing drag a bit different than the rest of the room, and they kind of doubt themselves because they're a little non-traditional. Mystique wanted to encourage Lucky to be the best version of herself by giving her a "here you can do it" MBQ point. Believe in yourself. Only to cut immediately to Morgan pulling a Vita. It's a show, people, it's a show. I love Morgan not buying what seemed like a genuinely sincere and sweet moment from Mystique immediately as it happened, and her smirking was giving me exponential amounts of life. Exponential! Lucky returns that MBQ favor by giving her point to Mystique, which gagged Morphine. Gagged. She was so plucked. And I don't blame her. I almost feel bad for her. She performed excellently in week 1. She did great choreo and made everyone look good, and even navigated around some of Morgan's passive-aggressive anal retentiveness, only to barely lose to that person who is kind of agitating everyone. And then she gets to the part where her alliances are supposed to help her out, and she gets backstabbed behind her back. I mentioned in the last episode that the fallout of Morphine not winning the challenge is honestly more interesting than if she had won. This week we see her in a tailspin trying to recover from that loss, only to get in her own way multiple times. And she was in a fairly bad mood. This is precisely what television producers want to happen. I do like the MVQ points. I wish that the queens were less afraid to be so kumbaya and would just make bold choices. I like that it forces a bit of social game, as well as employs a lot of strategy by making them participate in this extremely important background element to reality competition series, where who you align yourself with could make or break if you make it to the end. How you navigate those interpersonal relationships absolutely affects your trajectory. However, I do wish that all 6 queens in the room got to participate in MBQ. I think it would be interesting to see what the top 2 would do if they also had points to give out. How would that put a target on their back if they had to align themselves with someone very particular? Especially for people like Irene or Dawn, who slayed their brackets how would they navigate assisting a sister? I think it's a great concept that could be fully baked and they could really go for it. This week, the queens are given probably the silliest mini challenge I've ever seen on Drag Race, which is to put on a pair of ugly panties without using their hands. Girl. Unless you are Colette the Contortionist, or if you have literally the most pancake ass that's ever existed and no hip bones, I don't understand how you're supposed to get the waistband above your hips without using your fingertips. Unless you help each other out and use your mouths or something, but then why would you help your competitor make money? It was funny to watch and a few of them almost got there. No one wins, but that's okay. They all get $500 in cash. And it's announced that the maxi is a design and sewing challenge. I love. One of my biggest complaints about All Stars 10 is that Orange Bracket did not have a design challenge. And in my opinion, for a bracketed format, I think performance and design should be compulsory for all 3 brackets, and then that third challenge could be whatever. Improv makeover, second performance challenge. And this episode quite literally addressed everything that I have ever complained about with modern Drag Race. They were given wonderful materials, there was excellent conversation about queer history and queer life in the workroom. I am not delusional. I know that I'm not moving the needle at all on Drag Race. I know that my influence is like 0. But what I do know is that Drag Race producers watch the Reddit threads, they watch the YouTubers, they go on social media and they see what fans are saying about the show. And they course correct based on how we're reacting to things. I also know that years ago when I was still auditioning for the program, I had a producer follow me on multiple of my social media platforms, and I don't know if they're still following me, maybe they are, but if it's even slightly possible that someone is still watching my content that works with WoW, I thank you. This challenge celebrated nightlife, and every single bar archetype got a shout out to an actual real life location, and that's where drag has its grassroots. They weren't afraid to talk about queer history, sexuality, queer culture, like cruising. And shout out to the producer who directly laughed in Morphine's face when she said that she was a virgin and doesn't play with adult toys. And also shout out to Morgan for knowing what a pink hanky was. I saw the pink and I immediately thought, girl, ain't nobody in this room is gonna know what that hanky is for. And Morgan rattled it out without even a second thought. And I'm so happy about that. Drag Race, unfortunately, has sanitized itself of its queerness, of its queer history over the many years of the show existing. And I'm glad that they didn't shy away from something that is a bit of a taboo conversation like public hooking up, in an attempt to make straight audiences feel comfortable. So let's get into my rankings. As always, I will be ordering them based on how I perceive them. These are just my thoughts and my opinions. In my 6th position is sadly Lucky Stars, who got left with the kitschy bar inspiration. I was quite literally shocked when she said she didn't know what the word kitschy meant. That's quite literally her drag, since it's extremely over-stylized, excessive, it's dramatic and bold. It doesn't quite click with what I consider camp because it's very celebratory of the utilitarian and mass-produced items. There's a great video on TikTok that I saw that's called Kitschy versus Camp. Go look that up when you have some time. It'll help explain the difference between these two things, and it's helped me have a better comprehension of these two words, how they relate to drag. And this creator specifically was linking it to drag culture. Lucky's whole intro this week was walking back on her alliance with Morphine and resolving the fact that Morphine in her eyes is still a mean girl, especially seeing Morphine talk poorly about her with Dawn. It reaffirmed what she already believed was happening. And I'm not saying that Lucky is right or wrong in her assumptions, but from personal experience, if you go into a relationship with preconceived notions and a gut feeling that someone has not changed from who they used to be, chances are they're going to be exactly what you thought they were. Your gut is almost never wrong. And some people say, oh, well, you're just manifesting that a bad thing will happen. No, you're trusting your intuition. You're trusting that something doesn't feel right about it, and you're going along with it anyway to see if maybe things have changed. But your gut is almost never wrong. Always listen to it. Except when your gut is telling you to continue eating after you're already full. Don't do that. It'll make you sick. And also don't do anything crazy at 4 a.m. in some sketchy hotel because you're gonna have to limp home because you hurt your knees. Ignore your gut when it tells you to go do that. It's just unfortunate because I think her conflict with Morphine is going to absolutely cost her the ability to get to round 2. She's now low-key made an enemy out of Morphine who could give her points, and Dawn is probably going to keep slaying, and even if she doesn't, is aligned with Morphine, So that's 2 people not giving Lucky points anymore. Morgan and Akira are locked in with each other, leaving Lucky's only opportunity, slaying the next challenge, winning it, winning the lip sync, and getting a point from Mystique. And even then, I don't know if that would be enough points to solidify her going to round 2. We'll see what happens. For her look, it's a lot, right? She's meant to be a party monster, and I appreciate the use of materials. The scale is bonkers. I think she volleyed with Michelle well when Michelle said something like, I don't know what you are, a piñata and a donut? What are you? And Lucky immediately, without a second thought, said, a piñata and a donut. I love that. That's how you play with the panel. That's how you have fun with them. You don't take it all too seriously. And I'm glad that she did her homework before returning. I like the colors of this and how avant-garde it is in shape, but I don't personally vibe with the purple makeup. I wish that it was that fuchsia color of the body, since the purple is nowhere else to be found in this costume. But I do like that she did the animal stripes in her face. Maybe there was some color theory that she thought was going to make her face stick out by doing purple. It just didn't resonate or click with me. I found the entire look overall a bit messy and unfocused, but I appreciate that she's doing drag her own way. So points for that. It's a soft slay because I want to be nice this episode to everybody. In my 5th position is Morphine Love Dion, fresh off the frustration train. I mentioned already, but you can see her get in her own way, and you can see her flounder for some level of autonomy in that workroom. She got totally adored during the selection process. She was like, golden girls, I want golden girls. Only for Dawn to pick the bar that she wanted. I want it to be known and super clear, I don't think that Morphine would have won even if she got the materials that she wanted. The much prettier materials that she wanted. I think her construction skills are base level fine. There's nothing wrong with being fine at sewing. On a Drag Race design challenge, the judges typically like looks that are loud, and Morphine is a quiet designer. I did not understand her concern of not wanting to be too on the nose with her persona. She said that she's known as the Miami girl, as the tropical and whatnot. But girl, that didn't stop anybody else. In a design challenge, you are encouraged to stay in your box and stay in your lane and show the most elevated version of what that looks like. So if anything, this was the perfect material set for her to get, for her to showcase what her aesthetic and highest level of glam would be. Lucky, Akira, and Morgan all did exactly what they normally do. Morgan was a sex pot, which I definitely know her for in the nightclub scene. Akira did high pageantry, and Lucky fully did her kitschy style of drag. You are not encouraged to reinvent the wheel in design challenges. And I think her hesitation of being put in a box, as well as not winning last week, prevented her from being the best that she could be. I personally did not have a problem with the pearls. I think she could have had more, but maybe I have a taste issue. The pearls were a pretty divisive issue among the judges panel, so pearls are in the eye of the beholder or something. I don't know about this overall look though. Suspicious brow raise. Like, I don't think that we should pretend that the pearls were the problem. I think the colors are really atrocious, and that is a material problem that I have with production. But, however, underline, underscore, arrows, bolded, Morphine got to select what she wanted to use from her pile of stuff. What really got me going was that creamsicle orange lining that made me drool, especially under that blue. That is great color theory. But this flat, matte baby blue was not visually interesting to me at all. I don't mind the shape and silhouette overall. It's very ABBA to me. She managed to make a banger form-fitted look, which is very impressive for what she was going for, but it's styled poorly in my opinion. This material craves to be a poncho or a caftan. I'm reimagining it something like the Alyssa Edwards flying squirrel look that she did in Rue Hollywood for episode 1 of season 5. And then maybe you could reveal that, if you had time, to that baby blue, and it's like a pleated resort wear dress that could fold out after you remove the caftan poncho. Very touristy. And then that unstoned palm leaf just jabbed into the hair. That's a chop. But I'm being nice. It's a very soft slay of a look. Very soft. Flaccid. In my 4th position is Mystique, who was not a mistake. She looked so cute and country as a biscuit in her Western bar-inspired look. I love the fringe that was a knockout element. She looks like a rodeo mogul, and I think that's a good step in the right direction for Mystique, but unfortunately it's a bit too late in the bracket, and that's the problem with only 3 episodes to compete. You have literal minutes to make an impact. And there's virtually no wiggle room if you don't do that. Mystique wanted to make up for her past mistake in the country genre where she went home. And I think she accomplished what she wanted to do. I like her color and material choices. That denim with the leather was an excellent eye for detail. I love the camp of that massive purse. It's a big slay overall. In my third position is Morgan McMurgles. Madeline. I need to speak to Madeline. She was absolutely giving me Goldie Hawn down in Death Becomes Her, and I'm so tickled that Rue also noticed it and brought it up. She chose leather bar, and I think she embraced the materials well. I like the corset bodice she made on top of those hot leather pants. The half skirt is a fun surprise because at first glance, it looks like it's just that, a half skirt. But the back is adorned with these intricate scales that added a lot of movement and texture, which I appreciated. This is an extremely solid look that I think was maybe over stylized with that red hair. Perhaps if the intensity was a bit less Reba McEntire and had some of those strawberry blonde lowlights that a lot of those units come in, I think it would have been a bit more effective of a hairstyle. Maybe it needed a big hat or something. This was a strong week for Morgan coming off the heels of a win. Excellent job, super slay. In my second position is Akira with White Party. She had my favorite walkthrough moment with Rue because some PA was in her and Raven's ear and they were having the biggest chuckle, I am certain. They asked Akira if she was high in her prior design challenges because she carries around a sewing kit and a sewing machine. Like, why would you do that if you are not talented at making clothes? And so they assume, incorrectly, that Akira has slayed all her design challenges because, you know, they don't remember. And Akira does the biggest comedic gulp and says, yeah, I was safe. Meanwhile, cutting to an edit of some producer putting in looks from her farm to table and her blue ball looks where she was absolutely in the bottom. But I mean, she didn't lie. She was safe. It just was after some shoulder wiggling for sure. The shape of this gown is to die for. Every drag queen needs a good old nasty mermaid gown like this in their closet to whip out for the events. I love the giant ponytail. It's very camp, it's very glam, it's very her. That fuzzy textile that she used for the lower half is everything I need in my life. I enjoyed that little fold where the fabrics met. And I liked her concept of that peeling of the applique so it looked like the dress had this 3D effect. That style was super trendy in the early 2000s. I remember all the girlies at my prom had those peeling dresses, and I hope that's coming back around in fashion. More texture like this is never bad in my eyes. She did an excellent job, super slay. And in my first position is Please Dawn, It's Christmas. She picked Piano Bar, which Morphine, her good Judy, wanted, but she did say that she didn't choose it just because Morphine wanted it. In all fairness, the colors and materials they provided were everything. Dawn is the surprise element in this bracket, and I love to see it, similar to Irene last year. Again, the PAs were definitely having a key because Raven tooted Dawn's original sketch for the look, even though Dawn was given a bunch of boots her first time around, gagging Raven. And later on the runway, Rue mentions that this looks like something Joella wore, fully. I'm sure not knowing who that was. Rue, make the joke, it's really funny. But who is that? The silhouette of this look is insane. That tiny little slutty waist, oh my God. I'm obsessed with the texture she created for those breast cups, the puff sleeves, the ridges breathe so much life into this already over the top garment. The headpiece is both confusing and avant-garde. The trim, cutting it right down the middle, was smart to add some volume to it. I love that peekaboo of the clavicle. It's a very smart look. She lined up the pattern immaculately despite all the complicated shapes on that material. She embraced these materials for sure. Rue calls Dawn and Akira as the top two, which I completely agreed with. And they lip sync to Fergalicious. Oh my God. What a good song to lip sync to, especially for a themed evening where the concept is bar queens. Bar queens, because I think every drag queen has this song in their back pocket. Akira was locked in from the start. She served all of this body yaddy yaddy, twerking in every different direction. Dawn was very present and doing a good job, I think until she pulled a Michelle season 3. These are breasts! And I don't think that was the right decision to make in the lip sync. I think that cost her the win because she was strong in the lip sync. And I think she kept up decently well with Akira in comparison to her falling massively behind Morgan last week. Akira won this lip sync for me and also won it for Rue. I'm very happy for her because she got another point. I've missed her energy on Drag Race. I desperately wish in an alternate universe that she got cast on All Stars 9, so we could have had 12 uninterrupted weeks of her. So the scoring is as such. Dawn and Akira now have 4 points. Morgan has 3, and Lucky, Morphine, and Mystique all have 1 point. Rue says that anything could happen next week, but statistically it's gonna be hard for queens like Lucky, Morphine, and Mystique to catch up. Unless Morphine and Lucky manage to be the top 2, even then I don't think they would get enough points to beat out Dawn. Next week is a spooky QVC style challenge. I'm very excited. It seems like a fun acting improv set. I'm just glad it's not a makeover because I didn't want to see that so early in the competition again. What'd you think about this massive premiere of episode 2? What'd you think about the looks and who served it to you? Let me know what your thoughts are below, and make sure to check out the Patreon or the Extravaganza Extra membership if you'd like to support this channel. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so that you can watch all of my thoughts as we go forward through All Stars 11. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all on the flip.